Hey, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and Ink Nouveau, and I just got in the new TWSBI Mini. It's a cute little thing. It's a little brother to the TWSBI 540. Neat little pen, so I want to show you what they're all about. Here's the TWSBI Mini. Comes in a similar looking box to everything that you've seen before. 530, 540, the VAC 700. It says Mini right there, kind of neat. Comes in 3 different colors. I will show you them in a second. But the box packaging all should be familiar to you if you've been following any of TWSBI stuff over the last couple of years. Very Apple-esque kind of design going on here. Comes in a little bag, and it's got a kind of instruction sheet on here that shows you basically what I'm going to show you right now, which is how to take apart and fill the pen and all that good stuff. The box is nice. Comes in this nice little clear and white case, all properly displayed in there. It's got some stuff on the underside that talks about it. It's got 2 little stickers here that you can take off, at least enough to open it. The box just kind of splits open like that, and it's just held in there with these little clips. Ta-da! And here's the Mini. If you look on the underside, though, this part pulls out. It's just friction fit in there. There we go. And it has a little bottle of silicone grease for you to grease up all your parts in the pen. And it also comes with a TWSBI wrench, which we will use in just a moment. So I will leave it. This blue thing is just some tape that's kind of covering the wrench. But anyway, that's the box and all the packaging and whatnot. And here is the pen. You probably don't have a good perspective on how mini this thing is unless I break out the full-size 540, which is technically the second pen that TWSBI came out with. It was the 530 originally, and then it was kind of upgraded to the 540 with some tweaks. The Mini is basically a very similar design, just kind of in a miniature package. That's why they call it the Mini, I guess. Very similar kind of thing, but there are a few small changes. Okay, so I'll kind of go through those here in a second. But basically, if you're familiar at all with the 540, the Mini is going to be a very familiar design. There are some differences, though. The clip is very similar, but slightly different design. It's a little more rounded on the edges. It tapers a little bit more. It might be hard to see with this one. Let's see here. Is it easier to see with the black? Yeah, probably. Okay. So let's compare the black versus the smoke. Okay, so here's a smoke 540 and a black Mini. So you can see the clip there is a little bit smaller, a little bit more tapered. The center band is definitely a little different. It's not as big of a center band in comparison to the rest of the pen. A little bit simpler design, and that's okay. I like it. I think it works well with the pen. Still got the TWSBI logo going on in the top there. It's a little bit smaller, but scaled to the rest of the pen. And then it is still a piston filler, but probably the biggest practical difference you'll notice is that it has threads here. Well, the way that this pen posts is with these threads. You may or may not like that. Not a whole lot of fountain pens have threads to make it post. It definitely does make it a lot more secure. And unlike the 540, it will not turn the piston when it's posted. The 540 technically was never really intended to be a postable pen, because when it grips on there, it grips completely with this pen has ink in it, so I don't want to use a demonstration, but here's a clear one that doesn't have ink in it. So when you post this pen, if you twist the cap, it will actually unscrew the piston and the pen, just like that. And that's not a necessarily desirable feature of the pen. So they fixed that with the Mini. So it's got threads there. Still a piston filler here. And so you can see that's where it unscrews right there. So it's right at that little metal band. But it's thinner than the rest of the pen. It's thinner than the threads. So when you post it, the caps hold onto the threads and not the piston cap. So that's kind of cool. The one little trick, though, it will thread in 2 different places. And the way that this thing works is it has the threads, and then it has a little O-ring here on both the grip section and on the back part of the pen. So I find that the best trick, if you want to align your clip to be in line with your nib, is if you kind of put it in line like that before you post it onto the pen. Then by the time you do a full rotation, it'll put you right back to where you want to be. I know it can be aggravating if you just kind of start it in a random place and it ends up backwards. Then when you're holding the pen in your hand, you've got this clip kind of resting in here and it makes it kind of hard to hold the pen. So if you start it off where the clip is in line with the nib, by the time you do a full rotation, it'll be in place there. Now, if you really ratchet it down, you can get the thing to be out of alignment. The O-ring gives you a lot of play here. So you just want to, kind of manually align it. The threads won't positively stop you in a perfect place so that the clip is aligned with the nib. You have to kind of do that manually by having the O-ring kind of hold it in place for you. But that's how that works. And then it does kind of the same thing when you're capping the pen. It will, that one will give you a little more of a positive stop, but it gives you a little bit of a resistance there with the O-ring before it gets it in there. And then on this side, that helps to kind of seal up the cap too. So that's the difference there. And then there's some other aesthetic differences between the 540 and the Mini. It's got this little metal trim ring here. I think, they probably are doing that trim ring to help, deal with the cracking issues and stuff that they've had on some of the parts of the 540 and 530. That's kind of an evolution for them. The nib itself is a little bit different. This nib right here is actually one of the old Schmidt nibs, which they haven't been using for a little while. So you can see the difference between the Mini nib and the older 540 Schmidt nib. And then I believe I have one of the newer Bock nibs too. TWSBI's had kind of a time with their nib, trying to get, a good stock of nibs. They've been hunting around. It's kind of something that's ever changing. There's the Bock nib as well. So the Bock nib is a little bit wider wings than the Schmidt. And then there's the difference between the Mini. So you're not going to see too many of these around unless you have an older TWSBI 540. These are what you're going to see more, is these Bock ones. And the Bock ones are about the same length as the Minis, except the Minis are narrower. Their wings are not as wide as the Bock. So that makes them not interchangeable. So the Mini is their own set of nibs, and actually when I was trying to pull them out, I was not able to do it in such a way that I felt I could comfortably not damage anything. So the nib and feed is in there pretty good. You probably could pull it out. I don't know that it's glued or anything in place. I highly doubt it. It's probably just friction fit in there really well, but I personally didn't want to take it to the brink and actually go to the point where I thought I might break it before I was able to find that out. So there you go. Otherwise though, the pen is pretty easy to disassemble. It does separate right out here in the grip section, and like the other 540, you can just kind of pull this little grip section off, and that shows you your whole nib housing here. And actually this grip section is kind of just superficial. You can actually just screw this in there and write with it like that if you really want to be weird, but the grip section does help to hold it in place. I shouldn't say it's purely superficial, but there you go. That's how that works. And then let me switch over to the demo here to show you what's going on inside. So you've got your grip section with your nib housing in there. If you take that off, you can see the inside there, which looks pretty identical to the 540, like so. And as such, you should be able to use the Mini on your TWSBI inkwells if you've got one of those. Let me show you the grip section. The grip section is just a little bit different in terms of its contour. The 540 has this kind of taper down, and then it kind of bottoms out right here, and then it flares back up a little bit. The Mini doesn't do that quite the same. The whole grip section is just a little bit shorter, and it tapers down until about halfway through that metal part, and then it flares up real quick. So it's going to be just a little bit different feel when you're holding the Mini than the 540, but it's not a drastically different feel. The Mini is currently, as of the making of this video, right at the end of October of 2012. The Mini does not have any nib units available separately from the pen. That's kind of a feature of the 540 that's nice, but the VAC 700 hasn't come out with it yet, and the Mini doesn't have it yet either. But I kind of found that if you wanted to, you can swap it out. Now I haven't inked it up to really try it out yet. We just got these pens in today, so I haven't had too much time to play around with it. Plus we have Hurricane Sandy kind of barreling down on us, so I'm shooting the video a little bit rushed. But if you actually pull the grip section off and have just the nib housing, definitely looks to be identical between the 540 nibs and the mini nibs. So, you know, I have a 1.1 millimeter Italic here, which these nibs are pretty rare to even find because they're such scarce availability. And I was kind of able to put it on the grip section of the Mini, and then it will screw in place, and I do believe that it would write like that. So even though there's not a TWSBI Mini nib unit per se, I believe you could probably adapt a 540 grip section or a nib unit into your pen there. So now I've got a TWSBI Mini with a 1.1, which of course everybody's going to want, but you got to get one of those nib units first. So anyway, here you go. This is the clear version. And there is also a black version, which I've kind of already shown you. Same thing, except it is an opaque black. It's not like the TWSBI Smoke, where you can kind of see the ink inside there, you know? It's not like that. It is completely black, opaque. You cannot see any ink in there. And then there's a third color called the Classic, which is kind of a hybrid between the two. Basically, it's a black pen with a clear body on it, so you can see your ink level in there. That's about it. These ones I did not get at gouletpens.com. We only got these two in the first batch. We're supposed to get more of these in about a month or so. But I basically took and swapped out the parts and frankenpenned this thing to show you what the Classic will look like. I know this is the one that's most in demand, and of course we didn't get any, and you know, we ordered a ton, but we didn't get any in, so you know, I had to kind of make it up on my own. But there you go. These are the three different colors: clear black, Classic, and then, you know, just for fun, I took the leftover parts I had when I made up the Classic and made this little thing. I don't even know what you call it, but it's a black body with all clear parts. So I don't know, whatever the opposite of Classic is. I don't know, maybe futuristic, something like that. But that's that pen, okay? You know, it fills just like any other pen. Let's see here. I want to use an extra fine nib. That's what I want. I have an extra fine nib here on my Smoke 540. It's a very simple pen to fill. The ink capacity is going to be just a little bit less than your 540 because the 540 is quite monstrous. I don't know exactly what the ink capacity is on this, but maybe I'll do a demo of that. Actually, I could do that for you now. That wouldn't be too bad. But basically, fill the pen. You put your piston all the way down. Let me zoom out so you can see what the heck is going on. You just get your piston all the way down, which you do by unscrewing the back. It may stick a little bit at first. You just give it a good twist and it'll kind of pop off there. So the back part here should be separated a little bit from the pen. I bet you like that sound, don't you? And then, okay, before I ink it up, actually, let me show you how to take the piston out. It gives you a TWSBI wrench, and you basically do it in a clockwise motion, and that will unscrew the thing, and then you can just pull the whole unit out. You can remove the piston rod from it. It's not really necessary in this case. This is great when you're trying to clean out the pen. You can see there I got some ink drops in there from using it and then cleaning it before I did this video. But you can use a Q-tip and kind of get in here and clean out the body. You can clean if ink gets behind the piston seal. It's easy to get out. It's really easy to flush because if you want to change out colors, you can remove the piston part and then just use a bulb syringe and then just flush out this part. So that's really handy because most piston fillers are really kind of a pain to clean. But that trick definitely helps a lot. So, and then to reassemble, all you got to do is go the opposite way with it. Go counterclockwise until it gives you a little bit of tension there, and voila. So anyway, to fill the pen, what you need to do is go down all the way with it. You immerse the nib all the way up until it gets to the grip section, and then that will allow you to fill. It kind of fills from back here. You know, the filler hole, if you will, is back up here, right, tucked right under the grip section. So you just immerse the whole thing up to that far, untwist, you'll move the piston up, and you will have some lovely ink inside your pen. Voila. All right, I want to test out the ink capacity of the TWSBI Mini. Shouldn't be too hard. I basically just filled it up, and I'll drop the ink down into this vial. It'll at least give you a rough idea of what we're working with here. So I'm looking at about 1 milliliter, maybe a little bit more if I did another fill and tried to max the thing out, but 1 milliliter in normal use is what you could expect from this pen. It's not too bad. It's about twice what you're going to get with your typical cartridge converter. So not an enormous capacity, but for a pen this size, it's not too shabby. I'll fill it again here, and I'll give you a writing sample real quick before the impending hurricane destroys my building. I'm kidding. This is an extra fine nib, which, you know, TWSBI, even though it's a Taiwanese company, they use German nibs. That's one common misconception about TWSBI, is that people think that because it's an Asian company that you can expect they'll write, you know, like the Japanese pens. Well, that's not really the case. It's really going to write more like a Lamy or Kaweco or Pelikan or, you know, another German company. So here is the, there we go, TWSBI Mini. And this extra fine. The options for this pen are extra fine through broad. I'm not able to give you a demo of all the nibs here, but I will have them up on the Nib Nook in a relatively short period of time. But you can see these are this is a Rhodia dot pad, and it's 5mm dots. So the line is fairly thin. It's thinner than the dots on the pad, so that's pretty cool. But it's about the same as what you're going to get with a 540 extra fine. So just to give you a comparison here. But the 540 extra fine, you might be able to hear it, maybe not, but it gives me a little more resistance. It's not quite as smooth. Now, I don't know if they're using a different manufacturer for the nibs or if it's just a different design or something like that, but this extra fine on the TWSBI Mini feels smoother to me, and I do like that about it quite a bit. So should give you a little bit of idea anyway about how the pen writes. In general, you know, TWSBI's, you know, popular pen company. It's you know, there might be a little bit of scarce availability at first of these pens just because they're so new. They've been in development for a while, but you know, this pen is $50, so that's, you know, $50 for any piston filling pen is pretty awesome. But you know, TWSBI is an evolution, and the company keeps on making innovations and coming out with cool stuff. And the Mini is the newest, coolest pen that they have. So if you got any questions, you know, let me know in the comments, but this is about all I could think of to cover in a single video. Hopefully you enjoy it here. So there's the TWSBI Mini. If you got any questions or comments or anything, just go ahead and post in the comments on Ink Nouveau or on my YouTube channel. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Thanks so much for watching, and right on.